Things are really getting crazy in this market right now. We got a lot to go through. We got Trump tweeting crazy things. We got obviously Ripple Swell going on, a couple of big announcements going on, a bunch of macro economic stuff lining up in terms of injecting money and the government shutdown. But listen to this. Ripple's a multi-chain world, not just XRP. Let's grow the pie.
You recently did say in a tweet, XRP sits at the center of everything Ripple does.
Damn right it
Can you
does.
kind of explain what you meant by that?
Well, I think I don't understand this, but, well, first of all, I think we can all agree there's a lot of misinformation and sometimes disinformation in crypto Twitter.
It was literally proven disinfo way back when that the Bitcoin maxis were paid to literally talk shit about XRP.
That's not great for anybody. I sometimes think people like to paint a picture that is somehow like Ripple's given up on XRP.
Right.
I mean, that just doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, for a whole bunch of reasons. I mean, one is...
Clear it up.
Well, for me...
Seriously, dude, like enough
that
talking.
tweet was trying to, like, let's just be very clear. When we think about, and as I said earlier, when we think about G Treasury, okay, so Ripple wants to be as a treasury management infrastructure player, we now can introduce things like Ripple payments. Ripple payments, some of those go through stablecoins, some of them goes through XRP. And that depends upon corridor, that depends upon currency pair, we want to deliver the best possible product to a customer at the best price. And sometimes that may be a stable coin, sometimes it may not. And frankly, something that's not widely known for your audience. There was a period of time where Ripple was minting, in 2023, first part of 2023, Ripple was minting 20% of all USDC. That's because we were doing institutional payment flows and we used USDC. We also used USDT. We also used XRP. I don't look at the world and say, well, we are not XRP maximalists. There's going to be different chains for different solutions and different technologies.
That's it.
I think we have to start, and I mean this when I say we, I mean the whole crypto industry has to start with what problem and for what customer are we solving? Mm-hmm. If we just try to, it's like, hey, I have a technology and I just want to apply it to a customer. It's like, well, a customer doesn't think about it that way. A customer has a problem. How do we apply the right technologies? Yeah. XRP is very scalable, very fast, and very inexpensive on a per transaction basis. That makes it good for some things and probably less good for other things. That's okay. And Ripple will use other technologies in those situations. But if Ripple can go from managing tens of billions of dollars of payment transactions to hundreds of billions of dollars of payments transactions to trillions of dollars, and if XRP doesn't have 100% of that pie, but the pie is growing very quickly, like that's great. I'm happy. That's a really good place to be.
Well, of course you're happy because you're a billionaire. But so that's going to make a lot of people mad. These are all my first time watching these clips. I like them and then go through them. That's going to make a lot of people mad that he's saying that because the whole argument yet again is that the stablecoin basically renders XRP useless. But it's always in my mind, I view it that same way. It's like better for certain. And yet again, the RLUSD, inevitably they want to use it ideally, probably solely on the XRPL because it's the most efficient. That burns XRP. Granted, it's a very small amount. But, dude, when we're sitting at less now, because the market's bleeding, 3-point-something trillion total market cap, and we're talking hundreds of trillions coming just from stablecoin volumes alone. If they capture a good portion of that, yeah, that's gonna add up over time. Added with the ETFs, added with the treasury companies, added with fucking God knows who else. If the government comes out and says they have a bunch on the stockpile, there's so many things that are, in my mind, going to raise the price over time that I'm not even bugging. So, plus he also has XRP literally tattooed on one of his deltoids. That'd be pretty lame if a couple of years he's got it and it's worth fucking nothing. Doomsday is over. Onward.
Look, we were attacked. And I don't just mean by the SEC. Like, there are those who are maximalists of their particular religion. I respect that. As long as people are being kind of like constructive and honest and not spreading disinformation, I'm like, okay, fair enough, we can disagree.
There you go.
Yeah.
I try genuinely to support, and I think the whole industry benefits if we kind of get behind the whole industry. Instead of fighting about how big my piece of the pie is, let's think about how big the pie is.
My
I
pie.
think it's really interesting because the XRP family, community, whatever we want to call it, is extremely loyal. And they're very vocal as well. And a lot of communities out there or token issuers wish they could create that. What do you think kind of started that and caused it? Like, what have you contributed to it, or Ripple as a whole?
That's a good question.
By the way, I think it's a great question. I wish I could point to here's an answer.
I'm curious as well, honestly.
Well,
yeah.
look, unfortunately, you're not going to get a great answer because I don't know. And I think
There should be studies on this.
Yeah.
I might have an answer.
Probably it's a fascinating, like in terms of, I went to Harvard Business School. You do case studies about things. Like it would be fascinating.
All right, Harvard.
I don't have a precise answer. I do think the psychology of the, people like to be part of the underdog. They want to support the underdog. And almost from
That's
the
part of
beginning, Ripple took a slightly contrarian view around crypto.
They did. That's
XRP
why I
took
got
a
into them.
non-proof of work framework for how to validate transactions. That was
More energy
controversial.
efficient.
That was contrarian. The distribution method was controversial and contrarian. The choice of deciding, hey, we're going to partner with banks. I mean, people would call XRP the bank coin.
Yeah, that was huge, dude. Now they call it a bank meme coin.
Those were all things that were contrarian at the time. Then you get attacked by, some of the existing players. You get attacked by the SEC, and it has made a resilient group. And I think, look, Ripple has tried, and I think this was, even today, is still a little contrarian. Ripple has always tried to be extremely transparent about our role within the XRP ecosystem. How much
they're
XRP
pretty
we own.
transparent.
There's all kinds of stuff that, frustratingly, the SEC used against us. Like we were the most transparent. The SEC demands transparency.
Yeah.
Some cryptos aren't transparent at all.
That's what was fucking obvious as day about it, is literally the guys doing it right and shaking hands with the right people, they get fucking attacked.
We're transparent, and the SEC uses that against us to sue us. You're like,
so like come in and register and leave with a Wells notice. That
Shut your
yeah,
mouth.
stuff that was super
I'm just joking.
frustrating about that. Just like, it just doesn't feel like that chapter of that institution and our government was acting in good faith.
No, it wasn't,
I
dude.
think people, I don't know if I share
The government never is. It just depends on who's in power.
Like, I personally went into the SEC. I didn't go with lawyers because I was just talking about how we're using our technologies. Not once did anyone suggested that these are securities, but you go in over years and you're talking about what you're doing. Not once did someone say to me, hey, we think XRP might be a security. You might want to change how you're doing things. And then years later to sue not just Ripple, but to sue me personally. Because to sue someone personally, it has to be, I knew that it was a security and behaved that way anyway. And it's like, well, you didn't even know it was a security. And that was just
going after B-Rad.
Luckily, Ripple's in a position and we had the fortitude to kind of fight that fight.
Yeah, you guys got a fat balance sheet. Yo, the problem with it all, the lawsuit and everything, was he always leaves out that it gets brushed under the rug because I guess the greater win of the lawsuit was that XRP in and of itself was not a security. But they leave out the part where they were, I don't know if prosecuted is the right word, but they were found guilty, I guess, of when they were selling it to businesses that classified as selling an unregistered security. So there was some wrongdoing, whether that actually was wrongdoing or it was literally just Gary the Fairy and his squad needed some type of win on paper to get something out of it, I don't really know because I'm not a fucking securities lawyer, so I don't really know exactly what the legalities are. Anthony Pompliano, we can increase affordability in America by building more homes, creating more food, drilling more oil, deregulating key industries, and reducing government involvement in healthcare. Increasing supply reduces prices, not redistributing scarce resources. I mean, I don't think he's wrong, but homeboy, you gotta open your eyes a little bit. We live in this reality. That's never gonna happen. Sad to say, unfortunate. Hopefully one day it does. Maybe the robots are a good thing for us. Some iRobot shit. Yeah, Trump is posting not a lot of, he just posted last night. And so it begins. What begins? What does that mean? Because there's a lot of stuff going around right now in terms of the government shutdown. Why the Dems probably most likely waited until yesterday, election day, because they wanted to get the proper turnout from their base for elections. And then now that that's over, they're thinking they're going to come to the table and finally kind of iron this shit out. Then there's the other camp that think they're going to drag this on and drag the economy down with it until next year at some point. Me personally, I think this gets ironed out now within, if not this week, next week. I think this bullshit drops now because apparently, I'm saying it in the most simple way I can just so I can move on. Basically, the U.S. government has a bank account, a vault, with the Treasury that since the government shutdown has been shut down, it's been accruing money, just building up. Because they haven't been able to spend it, I guess, because the government shut down. So when that opens again, that $1 trillion will slowly start trickling down, supplying the banks, supplying furloughed workers and stuff, and it's going to inject money back into the economy and risk assets since the banks are getting their fair share. That's one piece of the equation that could kickstart this whole thing. There's a lot of moving pieces. That's why this seems so beyond orchestrated, in my opinion, with just the catalysts that are supposed to be taking place in November, and then the reopening just so happens to most likely be opening in a week or two. You can cut to me in February 2026. I'm sitting there saying it's still ain't open, but I don't know about that. This is pretty massive stuff too. If this is true, DBS Bank. They have some type of documentation talking about Ripple plans to IPO in 2026. Ripple is the only company with a publicly traded native asset, XRP, directly positioned to capture the momentum crypto IPO. So here, following Circle's successful IPO in June, larger crypto listings are now in the pipeline. There's an IPO boom going on. At Ripple Swell, I think the chick from the NASDAQ, I want to give her more respect. I don't remember her name, but I think she was talking about that they're trying to like manage the fucking flood of IPOs. Yeah, here we go. Valuations of crypto firms planning to go public, Ripple Labs. Riding on this momentum, major U.S. crypto players, including Gemini and Bullish, have filed for IPOs, while Kraken and Ripple Labs plan to list in 2026. Why wouldn't they? But then this gets juicier. This is getting real crazy, dude. Like, even though the market's burning, I'm getting amped up. I'm getting really amped up because, I mean, I know I've been saying this for a while now that, like, oh, we're so close, but it's like, we're just so early that all these things just, I don't know, they're right in the horizon. How could you not be hyped when, like, you know what's going on? Or you think you know what's going on. We never truly know what's going on. You got to keep that in mind. SBI XRP's true valuation will be revealed after the Ripple IPO. With respect to the SBI Group's unlisted shares of US-based Ripple Labs Inc., the valuation of XRP held in escrow by Ripple Labs will not be reflected in the company's valuation until a definitive price is established, such as through an IPO or other means. That's what I mean. You connect the dots now, or at least you start entertaining the possibility. Okay. I'm sure they know that. I'm sure they know that their value is going to be based off they hold a shit ton of it, or it's pre-allocated, but I assume they hold a big chunk of it. This makes sense for why you would want this kind of coordinated effort to fucking what seems to be juice this price to the gills, and then IPO and the bank license potentially. Like, do you fucking understand how big this company would be if it IPO'd with all those catalysts? Come on, guys. Like, it ain't, because the thing is, like, they're in with reach with all this shit, you know, and they're behind the scenes. They probably already have, like, the backroom deals, the handshakes, but yet again, then for the public, they gotta wait for the right moment to actually, like, oh, it's official, even though we knew it was coming. Doesn't mean that's what's going on, but again, when you're talking about these giants with literally handling the world economy in a sense, like, this is gonna be one of the avenues that this thing's rolling across. Of course, they're gonna fucking have hands shaking and shit. You don't think Larry Fink and Brad have spoken? Yo, this is exciting times, dude. Yo, hit the like button, comment, subscribe, notifications. You guys gotta tune in daily. We are all on this journey together, man. What are we at right now? 224. So I don't know if I said it in the beginning, but yesterday we were really bleeding, and we hit 208. My entry was around 218 because fucking Coinbase, just Coinbase, dude. It's annoying, but 208 seemed like we hit a wall there, and now we're hovering like 225 again. A lot of people think, because we were even saying it on the channel, guys. We were expecting one more shebang. Hopefully this is it. Some people are thinking this might even be the trap, so they get retail to get scared and buy more, at least some of us, and then they want to shake us out again. That's literally what the whole market is. And there's some great threads going on about, I think Raul Paul tweeted one basically saying what some of us would have in mind: don't use leverage. I mean, like, that's literally fucking showing your hand in poker, so then that these market makers can come in and just wreck us all. Like, don't use fucking leverage. What the fuck is so hard about that? Like, yeah, you can have, that shouldn't be the main way you're investing, in my mind. Not financial advice. None of it's financial advice, because I'm sure it's worked out for some people. Like, I think that Witten guy who turned Pepe into a crap ton of money, I'm sure he loves it. But the grand majority, when we just had that flash crash that Binance supposedly orchestrated, I don't know. I mean, people are getting fucking wrecked, and it's because you morons, these degens, dude, they're trying to, like, oh, I'm gonna get rich quick. Dude, you're just showing your fucking hand to the powers that be. They got the mallet. They're gonna spank your ass with it. The G Treasury CEO, Renat Ver-Eek. Yeah, so people are saying, well, not people. This is what I mean. This is the crazier side of the XRP rabbit hole, dude. Like, I entertain it from all sides. I don't entertain this side more so not serious, but it's something. Trump tweets this, and there's this guy. I guess, XRP account called like Bearable Guy 123. And he posts these very cryptic, like messages, warnings, signals regarding XRP. I don't know how long this has been going on because I feel like I've seen this cartoon bear. That's like the main character. I think he's been around for a long time. So they start connecting the dots between a lot of this stuff. I don't know. Let's see.
I also find this interesting. As mentioned, the tweet comes on the day of Trump's inauguration and says, "The bear is honored to be among you all today." Then, during Trump's inauguration speech, Trump literally mentions how our country was forged by farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers who pushed onward and let no obstacle defeat their spirit or their pride.
They were farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers who pushed onward, marched forward, and let no obstacle defeat their spirit or their pride.
Okay, so you're pretty much telling me that cowboys pushed onward and didn't let obstacles prevent them from persevering? So Trump hits all three of the most recent Bearable Guy tweets in one sentence during his historical inauguration speech? And meanwhile, the bear wrote on the early morning of Trump's inauguration that he's honored to be among us all today? Could whoever is behind...
Oh my god, what they're trying to say this is Elon? Yo, that's like a common saying, bro. Oh, I was honored. What the fuck are you talking
Bearable
about?
Guy 1, 2...
Imagine that ever did come out, though, that Elon or someone that we know, like maybe it could be Barron, dude.
3 have attended the inauguration?
I want my
Could they somehow be
suitcase.
involved with the
Howard Lutnick. Yo, look into the history of him, dude.
Trump administration? Just something to think about. I also find this interesting. As mentioned, the tweet comes on the day of Trump's inauguration and says, "The bear..."
Oh, I'm watching this again. I already saw it. Yeah, I don't believe that shit. Not for a goddamn second. Ripple plans to IPO in 2026. All right, well, I'll be here for it. Don't you worry. Yeah, and I think this is a Bearable Guy picture, or unless he just made it. But yeah, so it begins. Okay, let's hope so. Hopefully, it's a good beginning to whatever it is. And this is the guy who hosted the Solana versus XRP thing. He was kind of like stirring the pot a little bit. He's like, I really don't know what it's used for. And then he eventually concedes in the argument that like, hey, the technology is like good. It does what it does. It wasn't intended to be a fucking hooting and hollering blockchain like Solana. It was meant to kind of do one thing, but do it really well. And that's what it does. And then he's pointing to the on-chain data, which yet again is a valid argument. So that's why when I'm listening to Brad in the beginning, now like, not necessarily pivot, because yet again they were always pretty open, and you kind of should have put 2 and 2 together back in the early days, at least, that like XRP is not the same as having stake in Ripple. Like you should always kind of have known that was the argument, that like that's the ledger they seem to be kind of building their products with, testing it, like trying to fix the problem with that, because it was kind of designed to do that. So he's saying, in today's crypto bloodbath, one network stands out alone. One, Bitcoin ETFs minus 566 million. Ethereum ETFs minus 108 million. Solana ETFs plus 14.9 million of inflows. Mind blown. Mind blown. Mind blown. 14.9. Oh my god, dude, my pancreas is gonna burst from this fucking excitement. 14.9 billion. Oh my god. 14.9 billion. Ripple's just gonna IPO. Ripple's gonna IPO fucking 107 billion. What the fuck are you talking about? Yo, they're saying OpenAI, because they're about to IPO, I think, or something like that, and they're aiming at about $1 trillion valuation, something like that. I wonder what Ripple could be, dude. If they juice that XRP price, that's all they have to do. That's all they have to do. They'd be the biggest company in the world, biggest bank. Like, what the fuck? Those are big numbers. I mean, they're good. Like, hey, I don't want to take anything away. I'm just getting hyped, dude. I got some edibles hitting soon, because soon. I got the coffee going. The price action isn't exciting, but I'm getting excited. There's so many more stories I got to get through. Guys, I'm going to take this party on over into the Patreon. You could join the Minutemen, support the channel by clicking the link in the description below. Hit that like button, subscribe, comment. It helps out the channel.